A study following over 100,000 people for nearly 3 decades found something that most doctors never tell their patients. The habits that reduce cancer risk by up to 61% cost absolutely nothing. No prescription, no surgery, no supplements. Just 5 specific daily choices that almost nobody over 50 is making correctly. And the most important one, the one with the most dramatic impact, is something you do every single night, or think you do. Before we go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me which country you are watching from and how old you are. I read every single one. And if this kind of honest content matters to you, please help reach 1,000 subscribers. It takes 1 second and it keeps this work going. Here is something that most people do not understand about cancer. It does not appear suddenly. It does not ambush a healthy body overnight. Cancer is a slow process. It takes years, sometimes decades, of small biological failures, damaged cells not getting repaired, inflammation quietly building, the immune system missing what it should catch. And here is what the latest research is now making very clear. At least 42% of newly diagnosed cancer cases are directly linked to modifiable lifestyle factors, according to a 2024 review published in Mayo Clinic Proceedings. That means nearly half of all cancers are, in theory, preventable, not by expensive treatments or complicated medical protocols, by daily habits, by what you eat, how you move, and how you sleep. This video is about 5 of those habits, explained from the inside out, with the biology behind each one, so you understand not just what to do, but why it works at the cellular level. The first one involves your gut, and it may be the most underestimated factor in cancer prevention that exists in nutrition science today. Your gut is home to trillions of microorganisms. Scientists call this ecosystem the gut microbiome. And research published in Nature Reviews Microbiology in 2024 confirmed what has been building for years in the scientific literature, that the composition of your gut microbiome has a direct and measurable impact on your cancer risk. Here is how it works. When you eat dietary fiber found in vegetables, legumes, fruits, and whole grains, certain bacteria in your gut ferment that fiber and produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids. One of these compounds, called butyrate, is now understood to be genuinely remarkable in its anti-cancer effects. Butyrate can trigger a process called apoptosis in abnormal colon cells, meaning it instructs damaged cells to self-destruct before they have the chance to become cancerous. It also strengthens the gut lining itself. When the gut lining is compromised, a condition researchers describe as increased intestinal permeability, bacterial toxins from inside the digestive tract begin entering the bloodstream. Once in circulation, these toxins trigger systemic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is now one of the most well-established environmental conditions in which cancer develops and spreads. A 2024 analysis published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences found clear associations between low dietary fiber intake and increased colorectal cancer risk, confirming what multiple prior studies had suggested across different populations. The World Health Organization recommends at least 25 grams of fiber per day. Most adults in modern societies consume less than half of that. Practical steps. Add 1 serving of legumes daily, such as lentils or chickpeas. Include a variety of vegetables at every main meal. Choose whole grains over refined ones consistently. These are not dramatic changes, but at the gut microbiome level, they create a fundamentally different biological environment, one that is far less hospitable to cancer development. The second habit involves movement, and the research here has reached a level of evidence that scientists rarely see for lifestyle interventions. Exercise, specifically sustained moderate-intensity physical activity, has now been shown to fight cancer through multiple simultaneous biological mechanisms. A 2023 review published in Cancers, a peer-reviewed journal, identified several of the most important. When you engage in moderate exercise, your body reduces circulating insulin and insulin-like growth factor levels. This matters enormously because insulin signals cells to grow and divide, and cancer cells are particularly sensitive to this signal. Lowering insulin reduces the biological pressure toward uncontrolled cell growth. Simultaneously, exercise reduces systemic inflammation, one of the primary drivers of cancer initiation that we discussed with gut health. Exercise also directly supports mitochondrial function. Research published in Cancers in 2023 found that healthy mitochondria play a vital role in controlling apoptosis, the programmed death of damaged cells that prevents them from becoming cancerous. When mitochondria are dysfunctional, this quality control system breaks down. Physical activity has been shown to improve mitochondrial function and stimulate the creation of new healthy mitochondria inside your cells. And in January 2026, researchers made a finding that adds another layer to this. A study found that just 10 minutes of exercise increased the activity of genes involved in DNA repair, including a key repair gene called PNKP, while simultaneously turning down genes linked to rapid, uncontrolled cell division. The specific proteins released into blood after exercise were found to have direct anti-cancer properties. The practical recommendation that emerges from the evidence: 30 to 45 minutes of moderate continuous movement, 5 days per week. Moderate means your heart rate rises, but you can still hold a conversation. This threshold appears consistently across the research as the level at which the anti-cancer biological effects are most reliably activated. Morning exercise before your first meal appears to amplify insulin-lowering effects. If mornings are difficult, consistency of timing matters less than consistency of habit. Just move. The third habit is one that is deeply connected to the second, though most people think of them as completely separate. It is sleep, and not merely the idea of getting enough of it, but the specific biological work that only happens during deep, uninterrupted sleep. A comprehensive review, published in the journal Cells in 2024, examining the relationship between sleep, immunity, and cancer, described the connection in terms that should stop anyone in their tracks. During deep sleep, your immune system performs what researchers describe as surveillance work, actively monitoring for abnormal cells and mobilizing responses against them. The cells central to this process are called natural killer cells. Their biological function is precisely what the name suggests: identifying and destroying cells that display abnormal characteristics, including early-stage cancer cells. Research has shown that sleep deprivation significantly reduces both the number and the activity of natural killer cells. A study examining sleep-deprived mice found that chronic sleep restriction increased tumor volume and weight, with that effect becoming larger the longer the sleep deprivation continued. Immune cells that fight cancer were reduced, while immune suppressive cells increased. The researchers described this as the development of an immunosuppressive environment, exactly the internal condition in which cancer can establish and grow. The hormone melatonin, produced during darkness and deep sleep, has been shown to possess direct anti-cancer properties, including blocking the growth of new blood vessels that tumors need to expand, as well as supporting immune activity. Modern lifestyles, artificial light at night, screen use before bed, inconsistent sleep schedules, disrupt melatonin production and sleep architecture in ways researchers now consider genuinely dangerous from a cancer biology perspective. A systematic review published in 2024 examining circadian disruption and cancer found strong evidence linking irregular sleep patterns with elevated risk of breast, prostate, and colorectal cancers specifically. The practical protocol: protect 7 to 8 hours of sleep as a non-negotiable. Keep your bedroom dark. Even low-level light measurably disrupts the hormonal processes of deep sleep. Maintain a consistent bedtime and wake time every day of the week. These are not comfort choices. At the cellular level, they determine whether your immune system is running at capacity or operating in a compromised state. The fourth habit involves a specific group of foods and a biological mechanism that was only fully understood within the past 2 decades. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, contain a compound called glucoraphanin. When you chop, crush, or chew these vegetables, an enzyme called myrosinase converts glucoraphanin into sulforaphane, one of the most studied plant-derived compounds in cancer prevention research. A 2024 umbrella review published in the Journal of Food Science, analyzing multiple meta-analyses on cruciferous vegetable intake and cancer, found consistent evidence of risk reduction across multiple cancer types. The mechanism that researchers find most significant involves a protein called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as a master regulator of your cell's defense systems. When activated, it coordinates the expression of genes involved in detoxification, antioxidant defense, and, critically, the repair of damaged DNA. Sulforaphane is one of the most potent natural activators of NRF2 identified in food science. As people age, the activity of these DNA repair mechanisms naturally declines, making the ability to support them through diet increasingly important. There is one preparation detail that changes how much sulforaphane you actually receive from these vegetables. Cooking at high temperatures destroys myrosinase, the enzyme required to produce sulforaphane in the first place. Fully boiled broccoli delivers dramatically less active sulforaphane than raw or lightly prepared broccoli. The research-supported method: chop or crush cruciferous vegetables and allow them to rest for several minutes before consuming or cooking. This allows the myrosinase reaction to begin before heat can stop it. Light steaming after that resting period preserves significantly more sulforaphane than boiling. Raw broccoli sprouts, which require no cooking at all, are among the most sulforaphane-dense foods identified in research. Aim for cruciferous vegetables in some form daily: raw, lightly steamed, or sprouted. The fifth habit is perhaps the most counterintuitive because it involves reducing something rather than adding something. That something is ultra-processed food. Research published across multiple peer-reviewed journals in 2023 and 2024 has built a consistent picture of the relationship between ultra-processed food consumption and cancer risk. These are products made primarily from substances extracted or derived from whole foods: refined starches, sugars, fats, flavor additives, emulsifiers, and preservatives, with very little intact nutritional structure remaining. The cancer-relevant mechanisms are multiple and interconnected. Ultra-processed foods are consistently low in dietary fiber, which means they fail to nourish the gut microbiome and support the short-chain fatty acid production we discussed earlier. They are high in refined sugars that drive chronic elevation of insulin and inflammatory markers. And some of the additives commonly found in these products, particular emulsifiers used to improve texture and shelf life, have been shown in research to promote bacterial translocation across the gut lining, directly triggering the kind of systemic inflammation that creates a favorable environment for cancer development. Observational studies across multiple countries have found correlations between high ultra-processed food intake and overall cancer risk, as well as risk of specific cancers, including breast, colorectal, and pancreatic cancer. The research does not require perfection in eating. It suggests a direction. Move consistently toward whole foods, vegetables, legumes, fruits, whole grains, unprocessed proteins, and move away from packaged, manufactured food products as the foundation of the diet. Each meal is a decision that either supports or undermines the biological systems your body depends on to prevent cancer from taking hold. What connects all 5 of these habits is that they work on the same underlying systems: gut health, immune function, DNA repair, inflammation, hormonal balance. These systems do not operate independently. When you eat fiber-rich whole foods, you support the gut microbiome that produces cancer-fighting compounds and seals the gut lining against inflammation. When you exercise consistently, you lower insulin, reduce inflammation, support mitochondrial health, and strengthen the very immune cells that your sleep then has the opportunity to restore and activate at night. When you eat cruciferous vegetables, you activate the genetic defense systems that protect your DNA from damage during this entire process. And when you remove ultra-processed food from the center of your diet, you stop actively working against these systems every day. None of this is a cure, none of it guarantees anything, but the science is clear that these choices change the biological environment inside your body in ways that make cancer significantly less likely to develop and more likely to be caught and cleared by your own immune defenses before it ever becomes a problem. Your body has systems designed to do exactly this. These habits are how you keep them working. If this reached you today and something in it mattered, share it with someone you care about. Subscribe right now so you do not miss what comes next. And leave a comment. Tell me which country you are watching from, how old you are, and which of these 5 habits you are starting first. Your biology does not have an expiration date. Neither does the opportunity to support it.